Before we get started tonight, ladies and gentlemen, another episode here on Fast Break on iSports Radio. I want to discuss to y'all about the last 8 years of the company. For the last 8 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, isportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at $5 a month. This donation gets you shout outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include iSports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all for very much for continuing to make iSports Radio direct free for all sports. I do want to shout out to our 4 Patreon members: Marcus Los Great, Bay Area Rays, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Thank you all for your continued support to make it iSports Radio 8 years special. And here's some many more years to come. Now to the show. On tonight's show, we'll discuss the New Orleans Pelicans. Are they a team that nobody in the West wants to see come playoff time? Plus, Houston, Alabama, big time matchup this past Saturday in college basketball world, with the Tide going big over Houston. Are they a team that's deep enough to make a run for the NCAA title? Or is it too much parity around college basketball to make that happen? Plus, we discuss all things NBA news, college basketball news, including the return home of Brittany Griner. We'll discuss that and much more here on Fast Break live on iSports Radio. You're direct feed for all sports, and you're welcome to join us. Join us as your shout tonight. Lots to talk about, lots to get into here tonight on depending on what part of the country you live in, a very wet and soggy week last week and a week ahead. But D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
Everything is pretty decent, man. Rough weekend for my teams, but all is good. Basketball is going well. We're starting to get in the good part of the season, especially with college basketball starting to get started. So, good things ahead.
Yes, sir. Very good things ahead. Lots of good things going on. I do want to lead off a little bit with Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner is on her way home. She's been stuck in Russia for the past few months on the vape charges, whatever you want to call them. She is now is home now in exchange for a Russian prisoner who everybody's dubbed the Merchant of Death. And I just want to get you quick thoughts, on her coming back. Long overdue in your books, or just right in your, to go along with the negotiations.
I think it's a great thing that she is back in America. I know, like I said, a lot of different, for those that don't really know too much, but there are other countries out there that definitely hate United States of America. Have a different feel for it, so they treat us Americans different ways. So it's a great thing that she's back safe. I do think that was a big price that was paid to get her back home. Uh, the guy that they got, like you said, I think he was a huge name, like you said, Merchant of Death, one of the guys that has a long history uh, that they traded her for. So I think that was a huge price. But all in all, she is home. I'm pretty sure that her family is happy for that, and she feels great for it. So the good thing is, it was going to happen at some time, due at some point. Um, but now that it is done, I'm glad uh, that they can move forward with that. Um, so now we kind of can. I think they're going to have more information with her. I think she hasn't addressed everything yet, but to get her away from Russia is a big deal. I think a lot of people are saying that they think she's still going to be dealing with, you know, feeling like she was in custody somewhere else. So, but the good news is, like I said, she's back home, and it was bound to happen at some time. So I'm glad that that is the case. But like I said, I think it was a huge price that we definitely had to pay to get her back.
Just real quick for me, I think it's great that she's back home. You know, it's great that you know that she don't have to be in a Russian prison and wherever that may be, and who knows where they sent her to. You know, because Russia's a big country, and God knows, they can stick you anywhere, and you never heard from again. So I mean, it's great that she's home. To the people, and I don't know you saw this or not on Twitter and whatnot, but people, clamoring for the former Marine. But when I gathered, to be brought home, from what I gathered, he had done some other stuff and all that seemed like more severe than Brittany Griner's offense. Let's be real about that. And top it on that, yeah, he was in the Marines, but he got discharged. I mean, court, discharged out of military service. I forgot what it was. I don't got my notes in front of me, but he got discharged from the Marines back in 2008. So everybody saying, yeah, I mean, once a Marine, always a Marine. Yeah, that may be true. And my dad told me that has told me that in the past. But I mean, just because he was a former Marine don't mean everything is not sunshine and roses with him. So let's put that to bed as well. And then kind of found out the dude got citizenship in different countries as well. So not just the U.S. There's other countries that I've seen that are trying to get, you know, trying to get him out of Russia. And shout out to the chat, shout out to Marcus Los, great. Shout out to Terry Rodriguez. Marcus brought the point, D-Lock, hey, a Marine that nobody's talking about until it became reality that we're going to release her and trade for the Merchant of Death character. So, to wrap this up, I hate people keep on bringing up the WNBA pay. Well, they had to go overseas to pay all that stuff. That's a different subject for a different day. Don't use Britney's release and stuff like that trying to get more pay in the WNBA. That's like a different subject, different day. We try and get her home first, and then we worry about the other stuff later. But the main goal is trying to get her home first. So she's home. It sucks that she had to cut her dreadlocks. I don't know if you saw that picture or not, or video of her dreadlocks is gone, D-Lock. But it's just, it's done. It's over. We'll probably see the exclusive interview here. I don't know, maybe sometime this month, maybe next month into the new year. Who knows? But I don't know. She's home. Who knows if she's going to play this year? in the WNBA. That's something to monitor as well. Because you also got to think about her mental health as well. You just got to get home. If you get in trouble in another country, you just trying to get home. Kind of like with the middle ball boy. When him and the other two players from UCLA got in trouble trying to boost from some store in China. Hey, man, we're just trying to get home. Please help us. But I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's a big deal. I definitely did see that she cut her head. I believe one reason that they said she did because she was expected to face or to do that long term of I believe it was 9 years.
Yeah.
So you know, getting prepared for that, I believe they said that she was working somewhere also. So there was a lot of things that were transpiring while all this was going on. And for me, I definitely, like I said, it got to the point that she was there for so long that it's kind of like it was just a situation where people were trying to get her home. Clearly, hearing she, I believe, wrote a letter to the president wanting to get home, so it was very important. Like I said, I'm glad that she is back. Like I said, it's just you look at the research. You have people that feel different ways as far as her getting home. What we had to do to get her back. Uh, Definitely, for a lot of people that don't really know, just look up more research on the guy, like you said, that they traded for her to get her back. But on a positive, I mean, she is home because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's not like she's in a American prison or jail. She's in a different country, and as we know historically, uh, Russia does have some issues with us Americans. So, um, and they knew, you know, what they can do by, uh, having her there. So, the great thing is she is back now. Let's get her back healthy, physically and mentally, and hopefully this is not only a lesson learned for her, but for all different Americans around the country, as far as making different decisions over the country that we may not see as a big deal here, in our country. Different countries, they are looking for some reason to get America's attention or punish Americans or the country. So, um, let's just make sure that we kind of, as I say, uh, cross all our T's and dot the I's when we make different decisions in different countries, because they're just trying to look for it, being very picky about different things. So, like I said, I'm glad that she's home. Hopefully, this process is something that doesn't have to be repeated or gone through for anybody, not just any athletes or celebrities.
And we'll end on there. And then, like I said, whenever the big time interview drops with her to talk about her experience, we'll discuss that here in the show. But we got some live basketball action to talk about, D-Lock. And one team in particular, I think we really had showed a lot of love to, but has been quietly, rose up the rankings here this season. The New Orleans Pelicans. They're 18-8. They defeated the Phoenix Suns again in overtime today, with Zion having 35 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. McCollum had 29 points. No Brandon Ingram and Herb Jones. But, those two just enough. Marshall, 60 points off the bench. Larry Nance, 15 and 7 off the bench with the 3-pointer mixed in with that. When we did our preview show, the Pelicans, I think we had them. I'm trying to pull up the list right now. Let's see. I had them third. I think you had them third as well. It's like a team that, okay, if everybody's healthy, they can do some things, but it seems like it's like, okay, Zion's out, then the other guys be there. Then Zion be back, then Brandon Ingram goes out. Then Brandon Ingram come back, McCollum goes out. Or Herb Jones mixing in there. Kyle Lewis still ain't back yet. But everything's just kind of clicking. Zion's healthy, McCollum's healthy, Brandon Ingram get back. What do you make of this Pelicans team right now, sitting on top of the West, playing the way they're playing? What do you think of them as a team that, if they're fully healthy, that nobody wants to play with during the playoffs or play against in the playoffs?
Well, the thing with this team that they have depth. Now I remember last year they played the Suns, I believe, in the playoffs. And they got put out 4-2. This was without Zion. And to be honest, it was a pretty decent series between the two. And we're talking about them going against the Phoenix Suns, who the year before was in the NBA Finals. So they were going against a team, led by Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and all these guys. They had a few good pieces, putting up a high scoring series. Got them 2 wins out of the series. Ended up ending in Game 6. This is without Zion, and that's a big part of this, is because, as we've seen, the last game between, I think, a couple of days ago, or I believe it was yesterday, when Zion did that great dunk against Phoenix, to let them know, that he, in his press conference, he basically remembered sitting on the sideline watching his team go put out of playoffs by this Phoenix Suns team. But this team is very young. The only thing that I had questions with going forward with this team is how much do we see Zion? How many minutes was he going to be able to play? How often were we going to see him on the court? How many minutes was he going to actually be effective? Now, like you said, the biggest thing was that. Also, a few injuries with the Brandon Ingram, C.J. McCollum. But even with those guys, you got Jose Alvarado, who is I would say, very similar to Patrick Beverly.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he doesn't talk as much, but he brings that defensive presence to that team. You still have some vets there. You have a Larry Nance who can come off the bench and gives you excellent minutes. So you have Valanciunas, who is a good defending center as well, who can put up points as well. So this team has a lot of great rotational guys. Recently, without Brandon Ingram, we've seen Dyson Daniels put in a great amount of work for this Pelican team as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, all of this work, right, and Zion has shown that he's the alpha dog on his team. He's been showing that, without a Brandon Ingram, or hell, even without a C.J. McCollum, that he can take over. He's showing the reason why they drafted him. And we expected that. We were just trying to figure out, okay, how long is this going to last? Can he stay healthy? Can he stay in shape? And it seems like right now, if he can continue to do that, I think this team is going to be a problem moving forward, not only now, but for years down the road. The biggest trade of going to get a C.J. McCollum was a huge piece. Now, if he can be consistent, I think there'll be a hell of an issue for all teams down the road. The only problem that I have with them is they're in that very similar situation as the Boston Celtics were a couple of years ago, as far as rotational guys. They got so many guys that they can put in there. Hopefully, they're not just continuously, trying to put in another group of 5. Hey, you got Zion on the roll. Okay, you may give C.J. McCollum a little break, but keep him in there with the Brandon Ingram and keep the ball rolling, keep the points moving, instead of saying, well, hey, now let's rotate a whole set of whole group of 5 guys with Trey Murphy, Garrett Temple, Jose Alvarado, Larry Nance. Like, I don't think that needs to be done. I think they need to keep their foot on the gas because clearly they can put up points when they want to. We've seen that. So for me, I think this team will be one to deal with. Now, I think what they need to clean up a little bit more is their shooting. They run into a team like the Golden State Warriors who can get hot from three at any point. We've seen that yesterday, I believe it was, against Boston. They can catch fire at any point. You got Jordan Poole, you got Steph Curry, you got Klay Thompson. These guys can jack up threes and make them anytime they want. Once they do, now you're down by 12. So I think that this Pelican team definitely could stick with them. But if they can get their shooting percentage consistent, I think they'll be fine. And on top of that, they're a very young team. I believe Brandon Ingram's been out for about a week or two, I think, like that.
Yeah.
Probably even longer. So right now, they're operating without him right now. And there's no rush, but at some point, once he do get back, you want to see this team fully healthy, stay that way, moving forward, and move his way throughout the playoffs. So my biggest thing is, as great as they look, I will hope they look as good off the court. And what I mean by that is they're in the training room, getting as much work in as far as doing rehab exercises, but they're doing them prior to any injuries. They're getting as much stretching in as they need to. The ice tub needs to be their best friend. It's a very similar thing that I tell plenty of athletes. As much as it is to do a lot of work on the track or on the football field, on the basketball court, you need to do twice as much work in the training room. So I think if they can do that, they can stay healthy, I think this team will be fine. It's just that now you want to see them continue to do that because, to be honest, man, nobody can guard Zion one-on-one. That's not going to happen. He's going to be an issue all by himself. So to deal with him, he's a handful. Then you got two, I think, very explosive two shooters who can get hot in Brandon Ingram and C.J. McCollum, that if they get hot, that 2-point lead they have can turn into a 15-point lead quick. So I think this team could be very good for a long time. But the biggest thing is staying healthy. I would say that in all sports, there's a such thing as peaking probably too early. I don't see that with this team because the season is so long. I just feel like they need to make sure they're taking care of their body for a long period of time because, again, all of the you see how Zion played. This dude is literally out there. I mean, he steps on the court and you probably can hear his steps. So he's bringing so much power and force onto the ground. So if they can find a way to stay healthy, moving forward down the road, I think this team would be just fine. And they could really make a lot of noise in the playoffs. I mean, hell, they did it last year without him. So now that they got him in, that's going to cause a lot of issues for plenty of teams because now they can move at a fast pace quickly. And not only that, he's one of those players that can get your best player in foul trouble quick. If that happens, now you're down a Jason Tatum or a Steph Curry or a LeBron or something like that, and now you're looking for points somewhere else. That's the fact. That's the X factor that Zion brings. So I think that this team can be very, very good moving forward. But the biggest thing is, as we talked about before, prior to the season, we said in our previews, is the health. So they continue to stay healthy. I feel like the sky's the limit for this team.
Yeah, that's my big thing in this team is just the health. Well, I just alluded to is like, okay, Zion's back, but somebody else is going out. Okay, somebody else is back, somebody else is going out. It's just like, damn, can we get some consistency on y'all staying together? And that's like one of the things, I bring up Brooklyn real quick. That's one of the things that kind of hindered that process with Kyrie, James, and Kevin. It's just like, they weren't on the floor all together. Now, some of that would do to Kyrie being out, due to his reasons, and James Harden missing time with injury, and KD, still coming back into the fold of things after missing a year. It just never really got really popping. With this team right here, they got a chance to be very strong for the next 5 years. I mean, the Warriors run. I it's I'm not saying it could happen. Again, but geez, it's like a long stretch that they could keep going. But I think Steve Kerr and company kind of really dropping the ball with James Wiseman. But that's my belief on that. But with this Pelican squad, I mean Zion doing what he did at the end of the game a couple days ago, and the Phoenix players getting mad and all that stuff, which I hate that. Or you can't score on that last 6 of the game. The game's already over. And bump all that. You know, stop me if you can. If you can't, get out of my way. But this team is finally coming around. It's kind of like the vision, like some people had. When Zion healthy, what's this team gonna look like? We finally see that coming to fruition. Willie Green's getting things going. They need to get Herb Jones back to kind of get that defensive mentality back into thick of things. And I think they get Kyrie Lewis back. Healthy from the ACL. They didn't play like guys like Jackson Hayes today. No Garrett Temple. But, you get strong play from Larry Nance and stuff like that. So you really don't need to go that deep in the bench. But Zion can stay healthy, keep his weight down. Don't do just kind of watch the stuff, the dunks and stuff. Make sure you don't land wrong, all that good jazz. I think that'll go a long way. Do I expect them to be top of the West right now as we do this podcast, or broadcast on December 11th? Heck no. Heck no. We had teams like Golden State, if everybody coming back. The Clippers, if everybody's healthy, be ahead. Memphis. Denver with Jamal Murray coming back. Phoenix. New Orleans, really didn't cross our mind, being up in the top of the West. But hey, look where we're at right now. And it's funny that you brought up Memphis. 2 young blood teams on top of the West right now. 2 guys, John Morant, Zion Williamson, who went 1 or 2 in that draft. Got their respective teams 1 or 2 at the top of the West right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that actually speaking of Memphis, the last team that the Pelicans lost to was Memphis. So they've been on a hot streak. I think on a 7-game win streak. And the last team that interrupted the win streak they had before was the Memphis Grizzlies. So these 2 teams, that draft looks pretty promising right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
These guys that were drafted. And now, like I said, you're coming off of beating Phoenix back to back. Actually beat them today after bragging, after that dunk. So put it like this: Phoenix were Phoenix were very motivated today for the win because of what happened on Friday. So they brought more effort and still lost. So you got those 2. Then you had Denver a couple of days ago, which was a very good win. So like I said, you have some very good wins on in this streak so far that is showing that this team is real. And like I said, they have to stay consistent. They can do that. I think they'll be fine. They have Utah coming up, maybe the next couple games, and they got Phoenix again, and then the big one, which I definitely will find. They got to be on TNT playing against Milwaukee. I would love to see Giannis against Zion. That's going to be a game, I think, of the year. So But like I said, this team is very exciting. They have the rotational guys. We kind of seen the right on the wall last year, but now it's about staying healthy. They can do that. Um, Hell, if McCollum can be consistent, I think I think we got another. I think we got another challenging team in the West. Pretty young team as well.
Yeah, you know, their play been surprising. The Sacramento Kings. I want to say. I mean, I'm not saying their play has been surprising, but I think Sacramento also playing very well. Granted they lost to the Knicks. If they, like I said, stay healthy, they could be game changers right there. And you kind of look at the West Indies right now. You figure like a team like Minnesota, for example, where adding Ruby Gobert will probably make it. I won't say a big difference, but it'll make a change in where they're in the standings. But it really hasn't worked that way. And now with Towns out for a little while, and I remember you sent me a clip a couple weeks ago with like Towns and Gobert sitting there running pick and rolls with each other. I was like, what the hell is this? A pick and roll between two big men?
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
And then like
Definitely don't know what that's about.
stuff like that is where Minnesota. I mean, this is why Minnesota 13-13. If you run a place like that for the pick and roll between two big men like that, your coaching sucks. I'm sorry to say it like that, but your coaching sucks. Now you got teams like the Lakers that won again today. They're 11-15. Lakers seem like they're playing a little bit better. That's a team you kind of got to watch out for, especially that bottom half of that play-in bracket. But I mentioned the Knicks real quick before we get to college basketball real quick. There are some stories out about Tom Thibodeau and his job, how he does things and whatnot. Granted, they won today against the Sacramento Kings, but I saw on Twitter that Derrick Rose is out of rotation. Evan Fournier is out of rotation. Cam Reddish is out of rotation. What I mean, they're seventh in standings right now. What do you make of the Knicks right now? They got a lot of money sitting on the bench between two to three guys I just named. They basically have wasted a first round pick for Cam Reddish. Let's be real about that. What do you make of this Knicks team right now?
I mean, to be honest, this is they're on a little win streak right now, but it's just like the guy that they have. We haven't seen Derrick Rose. Um, they did sign Jalen Brunson. We were expecting. Like I said, I seen him in the preseason. I figured, hell, when he came in, he was going to take a lot more shots. And it's clear that's what's been happening. But this team, it seems like it's something every year with them. Like I'm at a point now where uh, they just seem like a team that can't get right. It's always something. Being the fact that they're 14-13, you are in the, you're in the, basically you're in a seventh spot right now. Obviously very early in the season, but this team just seems like it's all over the place. There's no consistency, and that's the thing that bothers me about this. It seems like this is always the case with the New York Knicks, hell, and I think it's a lot always the case with most of Tibbs' team after leaving the Chicago Bulls. So for me, I think that what needs to happen, they may need to start over. What I mean by that is, at this point, do you need to move on for another coach and get another coach? Because now, and like I said, I like Tibbs. Like I said, I liked him when he was in Minnesota. Uh, obviously what he did in Chicago, I thought he was one of the better coaches. But it just seems like here in New York, things are just not going well. I remember, I believe Kevin Durant was one. He had the New York Knicks as one of the teams that he wanted to go to, but the front office is one of the reasons why he did not go. So for me, we're seeing a lot more in Quentin Grimes. Quickly, it just seemed like he has regressed. Haven't seen that much consistency from him. RJ Barrett seemed like he's kind of stagnant. I don't mean that I haven't seen him necessarily regress, but I haven't seen him really improve that much. The signing of Isaiah Hartenstein hasn't really shown too much to me. It seems like Mitchell Robinson is trying to show that he belongs. As you said, Cam Reddish, haven't seen too much from him. And one of the biggest pieces they got, and I'm glad that hell he's left Orlando, is Evan Fournier. You paid him all that money, and he's nowhere to be seen. So it just seems like it's like they're just not. It kind of seems like they're still missing that star. But even if they did get that superstar, like how would they operate? I mean, it just seems like they're just out there. Now they do have, like I said, they have a couple of wins that you'll be like, okay, good win. They beat Denver. Cleveland, who I think is a much better team, showing something. As you said, Sacramento is playing pretty much surprising. So they have them a couple wins, but it's just this team. There's no okay. Well, Julius Randle is putting up 30 a game. You don't really see that. Sometimes it's Brunson, sometimes it's Randle. Very inconsistent. And it's still early in the season. Granted, the thing is they're in the West, so they're where Chicago is struggling. They're gonna play against them a couple times. They're in there where Magic still look like they're still trying to find things out. So I think that if they can kind of get on the roll, maybe we can see the brighter side of the Knicks. But the inconsistency is what I'm noticing a lot with this team. I was expecting a much better start from them. But starting off with a few wins early against teams like Detroit and Orlando doesn't really show too much for me. So hopefully, like I said, this team kind of can get the ball rolling. But man, it's been very disappointing, to be honest. Like, getting that major signing with Jalen Brunson, I was expecting this team not to be one game above 500. That's definitely what I didn't expect.
I think for me, I for Tibbs, it's just like I don't think he can adjust his style. He's too old school. I think he'd be like a perfect head coach in the 1990s, maybe very very early 2000s, and maybe like late 80s or something like that. I think his style fits more in that era compared to today's. The way he kind of, I don't say run guys down, but you kind of see like the injuries and stuff like that kind of happen with the squad, and then he don't allow people to kind of grow and be consistent to order to have them develop and whatnot. He kind of like starts people's growth. Like the years he's been with the Knicks, he had folks like Taj Gibson on the roster, and Taj Gibson be playing solid minutes while you hindering like younger guys on your roster, like Obi Toppin. So, you know, The logjam they got up front with Robinson and Hartenson really doesn't help a lot. And then you throw in Sims in there as well. Reddish, it seemed like he was playing decent in the first half. I mean, a little bit of the year, and then he just pulled a plug on that. He is basically cold set Rose and Fournier that all the money you spent on them is just wasting away on the bench. And then it's like Grimes. I mean, he played 42 minutes today, but only mustered 7.6 rebounds, 3 assists. That's a lot of minutes to only muster up that stat line. I think Julius Randle shoots a little bit too much for the 3-point line. He's 3 for 11 today. He's improved a little bit as a shooter, but that should be your bread and butter. And I don't know why Tibbs let him have free range shooting like that. If he kind of works on his right hand a little bit more, Randall be, I would say, damn near unstoppable. But who's going to challenge that guy? You're talking about like a 6'9" forward who can handle the ball pretty decently. And is very strong going to the rim.
Right.
And going 3 for 11, I don't get that. So I don't know. I mean, with the Knicks, it comes with a lot. High expectations from the fans, media, and then the front office. Depending on who the Dolans got in charge, you gotta deal with that too. And then on top of who you gotta deal with being in charge, you gotta deal with the damn Dolans as well.
Correct.
And that's never been easy for anybody for that job since the turn of the century.
Yeah, it just like I said, it just seemed like Boston made the turn. Boston did the thing they needed to do to be a much better team. Hell, I'm trying to see what the Knicks gonna do. We know that Knicks are one of the teams that makes NBA much more exciting when they're good. So this is what we want to see and what we need to see. And hopefully at some point we will. But if you look at the guys that they got, they're supposed to be a hell of a lot better than what they are. But they're still overpaying for some guys that I think that they shouldn't be. Yep. I mean, come on, man. You paid all that damn money for Evan Fournier. Like, what the hell what were you expecting? First of all, I kind of would probably understand a little bit more if this guy was like a 3-point contest winner if he won that a couple of times or something. He has a history of having a high percentage, but he paid all that money, and now not only is he not producing well, but he's not even getting the minutes. Now, granted, he got paid as a player. Hey, kudos to him. That was a good move. But as a team, I mean, what has it done for him? And on top of that, this is not something that it's not like he came in again and you've seen these great stats and he's just not showing up. You've seen this when he was in Orlando and Boston. So for me, some of these decisions is what's putting them in this situation, and they have to find a way out. But it's some decisions are long term, and at some point, we talked about it before. I believe that the front office has a hell of a lot to do with it as well. And at some point, they need to move forward beyond that. I mean, hell, right now, I don't know whose situation would I rather be in, the New York Knicks or the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, yes, you got two, all-stars on your team with Brooklyn, but hell, they're not looking too great as well. But at this point, you do have, a Julius Randle, a Jalen Brunson. You're thinking this is going to be a good combination, and all it's doing is leading you to be struggling to stay above 500. That is not good. Hey, I don't even know the last time we even seen Derrick Rose on the court. So hopefully at some point they can kind of get this turned around. But as I said, for most of these teams, They're in the East. So, that 14-13 record is kind of, surviving in a sense. It's not looked at as bad on the East side. Now, granted, it is early. So you got a hell of a lot more games. Personally, I feel like the season really gets really started. After Christmas, after New Year's Day. That's when we really start seeing a great part of the season. But to start it off hot is very important. But right now, like I said, sitting at 14-13. Right now, hell, the Dallas Mavericks are 13-13, similar record, and they're the 10th spot in the West. So for me, like I said, hopefully the Knicks can get it together, man, because right now this experience of signing these big name players and they just disappear and they don't produce. It's continuing. It seems like they're doing the same thing over and over and over.
So yeah, we'll keep an eye on the Knicks and see what happens with Tibbs and whatnot. And if they ain't slide, do they get rid of him to kind of save face? But we'll keep an eye on that real quick. On that team. But D-Lock, I wanted to get into college basketball, mainly Alabama and Houston. 1-8 this past Saturday afternoon game. The Crimson Tide actually came out on top. And I thought in watching this game, D-Lock, it's like when that second half started, when Houston started pulling away, they're at home, they had a full crowd and all that stuff. I figured, I was like, damn, Houston's too tough. They kind of out toughen this team. And I thought they're going to beat the brakes off them in the second half. But credit to Nate Oates and crew. They hung in there. They got big plays and stuff out of Jayden Bradley, freshman, and Noah Crowley, freshman as well. 16-11 for him starting off. And Jayden Bradley had 12 points, 4 assists out the bench. I know with parity in college basketball, especially in the men's side of things, you really can't pinpoint a dominant team. I thought,
right.
North Carolina, with most of the starters coming back, I thought they would have it easier. It'll be like a breeze for them to get back to at least the Elite Eight Final Four type of level. But it hasn't really worked out for them so far this year. And that's like one of those jobs you really can't really slip up and they get rid of your ass real quick. But to this game though, Kelvin Sampson has gotten this team deep in the tourney for the past couple of years. A lot of people don't talk about Kelvin Sampson be one of the better coaches, and I echo what Jay Bill has brought up in commentary. One of the best coaches, not in college basketball, but in basketball in general, for how good he is. But Alabama was just the better team the other day, and they showed it. My question to you, with the way Alabama has played, minus the one loss to UConn, can they continue play, make them a good run to the Final Four, or is there's too much parity that the Crimson Tide could, take a loss beforehand, if they make a run like that?
Well, for me, I think the thing that got this game, you were saying that first, you're saying Houston was going to be too much. They're going to be too deep. They're going to do too much. And Alabama's not going to be able to stick around. But I think for me, what probably got Alabama to have that confidence and the momentum to stick with a team like Houston is the win that they had against North Carolina, right? They beat them in OT, close game, another number one seed. That game alone probably gave them that push. As teams and athletes, you want that confidence. All it takes is just a little bit of confidence to believe that you can do something. I think that game probably set the tone. So for me, I think that was a big deal. Now, they have Gonzaga coming up. You know how the season just kind of getting started, like I said earlier about college basketball. But I think they could make a big push. Now, what they are going to run into, they're going to run into that SEC schedule very soon. So they're going to play, the Kentuckys, Arkansas, Mississippi State a couple times, obviously Auburn and Tennessee. So they're going to get, those games. And to this day, I mean, I personally feel like the ACC is the toughest conference for basketball, but I think the SEC is right behind it. So I think once you go through this SEC schedule, it's going to prep them for the tournament. And I think if they can get through that SEC schedule fairly well, I think that they'll do well in the tournament. And like you said, because that win against Houston was big. To be honest with you, I mean, I think, like I said, Houston having an exceptionally great season already starting out with the win that they had. I mean, they were already on a roll, undefeated. But to be honest, even with that, I think that this Alabama game was the biggest game on their schedule so far. I think the Oregon game was a tough one, but man, come on, man. I mean, with some of the games that they had, North Florida St. Mary's, Norfolk State, or Roberts, other teams, I think that Bama was their toughest battle. So, and Alabama came with it. I mean, I think, like I said, they and it's funny, for the longest, obviously, outside of you and other Bama fans, a lot of people that don't really watch basketball like they hear about Alabama and they're thinking college football. No. We're talking about basketball. They're just about as good in basketball as they're good in football. So they're marching up that road if they continue to impress and get these W's. So for me, I think that they can be a real deal team moving forward. But this is just a start. I mean, like I said, you take down North Carolina, then you come back and you hand Houston their first loss. So now, granted, I think that Michigan State win probably was as exciting, but I think the North Carolina one just was the one that gave them that extra boost. But then now you're going to go face a Memphis, and then you're going to run through, you're going to go play Gonzaga, then Mississippi State, all these other SEC teams. So I think that is going to be the key. I think after that, and we'll obviously go over it, and that'll let us know, okay, what kind of team is this Alabama Crimson Tide college basketball team? Like, how far can they go? And I think that once we see that, I think it'll be easy to say, okay, hey, this team is for real. Like, I definitely see them being a team that can somewhat go pretty far. And as we know, what we love about college basketball is, and they're kind of implementing college football, is once you're in the tournament, it's one and done. This is not a 7-game series, not a 5-game series. This is a one and done. And I think that if this Alabama team can play this tough as they have been, I think you have a team that can somewhat shock a lot of people. They definitely did that, I'm pretty sure, when they played against Houston.
I think real quick for me, Brandon Miller, I discussed a lot on Twitter, maybe with his length being 6'9", stuff like that, could be like a top 3 pick coming draft wise. We could be talking about a guy that'd be at least a top 3 pick, a top 5 pick come draft wise. But he really had no field goals, in that game. His shots just came from free throws. The other freshmen, Bradley and Clowney, played very well, especially Noah Clowney, played very well. And he's been playing pretty well all year. So much so that, if he continues this play, he could be never like a one and done type of deal in my eyes. But, can Alabama make a run? I mean, it's hard to say. They got Memphis on the 13th. That's on Tuesday. That's going to be a tough matchup. They lost last year to Memphis in Memphis. This time around, Memphis will be coming down to Tuscaloosa, so that'll be a tough battle right there. Then you got Gonzaga afterwards in Birmingham. They last year in that second half they really kind of blow the game wide open against Gonzaga. Now Gonzaga don't have Chet Holmgren, don't have a couple other players. You know how they're gonna look from Alabama perspective going against Gonzaga this year. And then you saw SEC play on the 28th against Mississippi State, who always kind of give you fits over the years. As a Bama fan, can they make a run? Yes, they can. But the way the SEC is playing, Kentucky, man, scare me. Arkansas maybe the most difficult challenge out there. Mizzou is like 9-1. And granted, they lost to Kansas this past Saturday, but it's like a 9-1. It's like, okay, yeah, you're 9-1, but who would you beat?
Right, exactly.
So, LSU has like a whole roster turnover after Will Wade, finally got fired. But I'll leave it on this note. It's like Houston's gonna be a tough team. Like they're tough, and I think people should not brush that aside. Now it sucks that you lose a big league like that and you let a team come back and win like that. That's not. I mean, that's not good. I'm pretty sure Kevin Selson got into his guys like that next practice. Hey, we had this team dead to rights in that second half, but we let them come back. Making turnovers on them and we let them come back. But I think Houston and Cameron Simmons is smart enough to erase those mistakes, and they'll be back in the fold. And I think, there's another team right there that could make another run again in the tourney. So we'll see how things go come the end of the season. How things shake out for the rest of the year. I like the Houston team a lot. I love toughness. I'll wrap it up here. I love toughness in my basketball players. I love aggressiveness. I love guys getting after it. You don't really see that in today's college style. You don't see that too much. I watch a lot of high school, and some of these games I've been going to this year, I don't see that a lot. A lot of sloppiness.
Right.
And I wish, some of these coaches kind of bought off certain styles. And Kevin Selson is a person I wish a lot of these coaches I see around here kind of bought off more. Tough, aggressive, but efficient though. And he got these guys so efficient and tough and aggressive like that kicks a lot of people's ass. So two teams we'll definitely keep an eye on. Like I said, Alabama got Memphis come Tuesday. Next Saturday they play Gonzaga in Birmingham. I may try to go to that game. We'll see how things work out, but we'll see about that. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us here on broadcast here on iSports Radio. D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys can find me at Black-813. I do a little bit of tweeting about the Magic. We definitely got a dub today, but my Bucks got their ass whooped. So I will try to stay away from that. Let them know they can find you at Man the Show.
You can find the show on Twitter at FastBreakerIESR. That's FastBreakIESR. Also, do follow iSportsRadio.com for your latest latest show news and details. Also, I have another Twitter. My Twitter handle is Spawn4288. That's Spawn4288. Also, I do another show on the side called The Crooks Process. You can follow The Crooks Process on Facebook and Instagram. You can see the CP logo in the profile pic. Right now, I haven't done a full episode in a while, but I do post little mini videos and stuff like that from time to time. So, do keep up with that. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to y'all next week about the world of basketball. If you need other big news drops, we'll do a quick IESR vid on the Twitter space. Until then, talk to y'all later. Peace.